Upon starting this game, I couldn't have been more excited. The culmination of the original trilogy, everything that the first two games have built up to, the ending that would eventually lead to the soft reboot in God of War 2018. I could not wait to see how the confrontation between Kratos and Zeus would eventually culminate. This game is such an incredible generational leap. The first, obviously most notable change is the visuals, as I believe this is as fantastic looking as a PS3 game can be, and it really highlights the improvement that generation made compared to the PlayStation 2. Also true to this is the spectacle. Starting the game on Gaia, Kratos feels so small, but watching him take down Poseidon makes him feel so powerful. The contrast between large and small is something this series has always done well, and it's exceptional here. The game is very reliant on the same core gameplay, but it feels more responsive here. And there are bigger changes from this to 2 than there was from the first to the second. Picking up the moment 2 ended allows us to get right into it, starting with the big Kratos and Gaia versus Poseidon, and not slowing down from there. The combat is obviously the same at its core. The blades, with light and heavy attacks in a hack and slash feel, is the bread and butter of this system. But what's around that in this game changes up dramatically. Kratos still has the same equipment from the first game, so the Golden Fleece allows Kratos to counter from the get-go, which I love, as I love a good counter mechanic. The biggest difference is how weapons, magic, and equipment works. In previous games, these were all separate, where Kratos could switch to different weapons for different kind of attacks. The blades, the hammer, and all other manner of weapons that were in those games. Magic was gifted by the gods or titans and were independent, as equipment was largely used for puzzles, but occasionally combat, such as the slowdown time in 2. This game brings in more equipment, such as Apollo's bow, and later the head of Helios and Hermes' boots. While these are essentials for puzzle, they also are for combat. Apollo's bow takes the previous held magic bow option, and allows Kratos to have a ranged attack. Helios' head allows Kratos to use the light from it to stun his enemies, and Hermes' boots allows Kratos to run through to do damage and stun multiple enemies at once. I feel like this opens up the combat opportunities more, without making it feel too cluttered. While more magic could easily be added in, it would probably feel overbearing and allows for more variety in combat scenarios, while also having excellent narrative reasons behind these items. I would argue a bigger change is that of weapons and magic. Weapons honestly remain the same. Kratos gets additional weapons throughout his journey, which allows for different attacks. The first thing for this is 3 out of the 4 weapons are just the blades reskin. The weapon given by Hades and the weapon given by Hephaestus are both dual blades of a sword on the end of a chain. I understand the reasoning for this. The blades were so popular, people probably rarely used the other ones in previous games, but I feel making them more unique would have had a better use. As it stands, I feel no need to ever switch to them. The 4th weapon though, Kratos takes after defeating Hercules. These are great, as not only are they different, they are essential for puzzles and great at opening up different kinds of enemies. I pretty much only switch between these and the core blades. Magic is entirely reworked, which from a lore standpoint was necessary. In the first game, there were gifts from the gods, and the second from the titans, while both gods and titans are enemies to Kratos this time around. Another way for Kratos to possess magic had to come into this game, and they come through the weapons themselves. Each weapon has a different magic moves, which depletes the bar and helps Kratos along. The blades has the Spartan army. This is a significant difference, and one of the only reasons I switched to the other weapons. It doesn't make a huge difference in moment-to-moment gameplay though, and then making it slightly more tedious to perform moves, first switch to the weapon and then perform the attack. The rage mechanic is back, now the rage of Sparta, and it's rarer than it was in 2 and feels much closer to the timing build-up that it was in the first game. Enemies are largely the same, minotaurs, undead, Urails, but a nice new addition is centaurs, which is a staple of Greek mythology I'm shocked were not in the series much before. Boss battles are a huge focus in the game. They are much larger and much more meaningful than in 2. Kratos taking down the Greek pantheon leads to so many unique confrontations that use these gods' own abilities into the dynamic, such as Hermes' speed. Kratos constantly having to play catch up throughout the fight feels completely different to the Titan Kronos, who is large and slow, Kratos having to climb around him and avoid his detection. Of course, there are also more traditional boss fights, such as Hercules and ending with Zeus. The second game really expanded puzzles, with a lot more mechanics and ways to interact with them. In that game, I found myself scratching my head trying to work out how to progress. While this game certainly has a lot of mechanics similar to 2's, I feel like they're more simple, or at least more obvious than that game, as I really felt I didn't know how to proceed. While mechanics like slowing down time and the like is gone, the items are mostly what is used now, such as Helios' head needing to illuminate the path forward, Hermes' boots to run up and across walls, Apollo's bow to burn branches to open areas, and destroying glowing crystals with Hercules' weapon. Movement is mostly unchanged, still the same running style from the first two games and the same climbing me mechanic from the second. The most different change in movement is the addition of Hermes' boots, which acts as a sort of sprint button at times. This has to be my favourite of the world design so far. The HD graphics and PS3 hardware obviously makes everything so much more detailed, but exploring Mount Olympus is a treat. Right from the start, seeing Ares' tomb and the villain of the first game laying in stasis there. Not only is Mount Olympus interesting to look at, it's also lore, in a sense bringing back elements from the older games. Kratos returns to the underworld finding much more varied location than previous travels there. Temples and statues surround the location next to the rock and lava. Seeing different areas of the world of the gods brings so much more to these characters, as the locations inform more about the characters themselves and bringing unique design to these levels. Hera's gardens and the puzzles within, Poseidon's chambers and the treasures there, and Aphrodite's pleasure-inspired rooms. Each part tells a story of the gods' decadence, their disconnection from humanity, their entitlement, and the qualities Kratos hates about them. The story picks up exactly where 2 ended. Kratos on the back of Gaia, with a Titan army from the past, climbing up Mount Olympus. Of course the game isn't so simple. We're thrown right into a boss fight with Poseidon, which, once Kratos defeats him, makes the sea uncontrollable and wreak havoc on the land. In the second game, Titans were with Kratos, as he was helping them and they had mutual enemies in the gods. As soon as Gaia can cut off Kratos, she does, explaining that he was simply a pawn and they had no intention of Kratos killing Zeus, claiming it must be a Titan. Due to this betrayal, Kratos ends up in the underworld, again. That's 3 for 3 now, and must find a way back to Olympus. In the underworld, Kratos loses his powers, conveniently starting the journey to build them up again. This is a new game after all. Athena changes the blades, as that's something that apparently just has to be done. But the first notable change in this game is the tone. Kratos has always been murderous and brutal, but also restrained as well, caring about the lives of innocent women and children, and viewing adversaries as nothing more than objects in his way. In 2, we saw Kratos, with the betrayal of Zeus, become less sympathetic. But with this betrayal of the Titans and him waging a one-man army against the gods and Titans alike. Kratos is straight out vengeful and almost psychotic. This is first seen when we see Apollo trapped and he's asking Kratos for help to escape, and he would reward him with his bow. I feel like in previous games we would see Kratos do this and be rewarded in kind. Instead, Kratos just burns him and takes the bow, signaling he's far too gone to care about other people at this point. All he cares about is his vengeance. This seemingly gets worse through the game. Brutal imagery such as Kratos ripping off Helios' head clean, or him slashing Hermes' legs off. The worst example of this for Kratos though is Poseidon's princess, who is running scared of Kratos, begging him not to kill her as she is an innocent. Kratos does kill her though, brutally, just to advance to the next room, crushing her under a wheel. The gods seem to have a vendetta against Kratos, not just Zeus. Well, I mean, he was coming to kill them and all, but they seem to enjoy taunting him and punching down on him, seemingly thinking he was lesser as they were gods and he was a mortal who became a god. An interesting case of this though is Hercules, who is jealous of Kratos. Hercules is also a son of Zeus, but also of his wife Hera. Hercules is jealous Kratos was chosen to become the god of war after Ares, and not himself. There are a few gods that help Kratos though. Hephaestus, who was trapped in the underworld, and his wife Aphrodite, who Kratos seems to share a certain special relationship with. This comes to an end, as in order to kill the gods, and particularly Zeus, there is a MacGuffin, the same as the first game, the Box of Pandora. Very Star Wars of them. Kratos must open the box again, but there is only one way to get through its shield, the Fire of Olympus. A key turned into a young girl called Pandora. It was Hephaestus who discovered this girl, and thinks of her like his own daughter, leading to his allyship eventually becoming an enemy to Kratos, when he discovers Kratos is willing to sacrifice the girl to kill Zeus, as she will die to get through the flame. We see Kratos and Pandora make it there, where after their journey together, a bit of Kratos' humanity is able to come back. He attempts to stop her, saying they'll find another way, as he clearly begins to care for the girl, and likely reminds him of his own daughter Calliope. A confrontation with Zeus stops this though, and Pandora sacrifices herself. Kratos does open the box and finds it to be empty. It doesn't matter though, as he's going to take down Zeus anyway. Gaia comes up and they fight in the heart of Gaia. Kratos takes down both simultaneously. Kratos then enters an area known as the Darkness. Kratos is trying to advance forward. Obviously a core theme of this franchise is Kratos' past. Here it is presented to him, all the actions with his family and the gods that have turned him into the savage beast he has become. Kratos' way out is Pandora, who talks with him and gives him hope, and in turn, the power to leave the darkness. We return to the fight with Zeus. Kratos, for the first time in franchise history, is in first person, bashing Zeus till the screen is filled with blood that nothing more can be seen, and it's up to the player's discretion when they wish to stop. With Zeus dead, the Greek pantheon and world destroyed, Kratos is greeted by a wasteland of his own creation. Without Zeus, Poseidon, Helios, Hermes, and all the others Kratos has taken down, the world looks very post-apocalyptic. Raging seas and tornadoes, no sunlight, and harpies fill the sky. Kratos is greeted by Athena, who turns up again and explains how this all came to happen, how it's all a reaction to Kratos' action in the first game, opening the Pandora's box. Pandora's box held all the evils of the world, but also Athena snuck in the power of hope. When Kratos opened the box to defeat Ares, it let out the evils, attaching themselves to the gods. The gods became villainous because it was Kratos' own actions and desire for revenge, although the gods were keen on helping Kratos defeat Ares in the first game as well. The hope, Athena's hope, was given to Kratos, which allowed him to defeat Ares. She explained she ultimately helped Kratos with his journey, as she wanted the hope Kratos had to rebuild the world as she wanted, without the gods in her way, and the hope returned to her. Hopefully, she would be able to succeed with this. Athena was manipulating Kratos and all the other gods behind the scenes the whole time, simply for her own advantage, becoming the true villain of this story. Realizing this, and seeing the chaos Kratos has brought, he decides to kill himself to relieve hope to the world. Athena is devastated by this, claiming they won't know what to do with it. But Kratos' sacrifice pertains to the true role of a god, to help humanity even if that comes at the cost of himself. And really, after the chaos, pain and events Kratos had caused, it really was the only way he could ever be redeemable. But as the end credits tease, and obviously as we know now after the 2018 iteration, Kratos did in fact survive, and there is more to his story and his redemption. This game is a powerhouse. It starts big and doesn't slow down. It's uncompromisingly brutal, grandiose, and violent. It's the natural end for Kratos' journey, him losing his humanity in his quest for vengeance. The game is a warning more than anything else, and even by the chance Kratos tries to pull back, literally by pulling back Pandora, it's all little too late. Kratos ultimately makes the ultimate sacrifice, a fitting end for a character that's caused so much pain, sacrificing himself, or so we thought, to give humanity hope, and if that isn't the proper role of a god, I don't know what is. While I very much appreciate the spectacle and the conclusion this game brought Kratos, at least in the Greek saga, this game certainly earned all of that. I find myself missing and somewhat longing for the smaller scale temple exploration of the first two, or even a simple quest of mourning from 2018. I think this game isn't as effective, at least narratively, as Kratos feels so disconnected from what made him compelling in the first game, at least to me personally. The simple fact is, Kratos is less compelling, less understanding, and more bloodthirsty character here. One whose actions may not justify the results. He's a deeply layered character, and I appreciate him moving from the grey character he was at the start of the trilogy to much darker, closer to black. Ultimately, Kratos' descent is exactly what made his 2018 story hit so powerfully. Atreus using Kratos, an example of a good god, hits so much differently, knowing the true result of Kratos' actions as one. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've really enjoyed playing through this franchise and learning more, particularly about Kratos. I'm excited to get to the spin-offs now and learn what else built up to this eventual ending in God of War 3. If you like this video, please leave a like and let me know what your thoughts are on God of War 3 or the whole franchise in general in the comments below. If you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe, and as always, have a good one.